Today, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and Texas's Greg Abbott pulled an effective and cruel stunt, chartering planes and buses to send migrants from the border areas, unannounced and without any warning or preparation, to the Massachusetts island of Marthas Vineyard, and also to the residence of Vice President Kamala Harris in Washington, D.C.'s Naval Observatory. Now, if the goal was just to own the libs and nothing more, then chalk up a win for Team DeSantis and Abbott. It was a clever way to get attention for the cause. It also seems to me you can believe, as I do, that this is just wrong, using people, asylum seekers, some children, many just adults here illegally, as political pawns for political points. And also believe that it does highlight a critical issue, that it should not just be border states that have to deal with the burden of a failed border policy. Marthas Vineyard is known for being an enclave of the wealthy and powerful. 2 planes with about 50 migrants landed on the island. The plane sent by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who today said this.
We are not a sanctuary state, and it's better to be able to go to a sanctuary jurisdiction. And yes, we will help facilitate that transport for you to be able to go to greener pastures. Every community in America should be sharing in the burdens and shouldn't all fall on a handful of red states.
Again, it seems to me you can agree with some of that statement about sharing the burden while also criticizing the cruelty in doing it this way. The Massachusetts state senator who represents Marthas Vineyard telling NewsNation that he believes this has nothing to do with actual solutions.
This is a cruel ruse about manipulating vulnerable migrant families who are just seeking a better life. This is not actually about, having states who are further from the border helping in the situation. If you wanted help, there'd be some level of coordination, some communication. This is an explicit political stunt at the expense of vulnerable people, and it's shameful and it's disgusting.
Texas Governor Abbott has in many ways been the face of the strategy. He's sent more than 2,200 migrants to New York City, 7,900 to Washington, D.C., and about 300 to Chicago. This morning, 2 buses from Del Rio, Texas, with 100 migrants arrived at the Naval Observatory, the residence of Vice President Kamala Harris. Governor Abbott releasing a statement saying, quote, VP Harris claims our border is secure and denies the crisis. We're sending migrants to her backyard to call on the Biden administration to do its job and secure the border. There's also Arizona Governor Doug Ducey, who's bused hundreds of migrants to Washington, D.C. since May. In D.C., Mayor Muriel Bowser has declared a public health emergency, announced the city would spend an initial $10 million to create an office to help coordinate the arrival of the migrants, offering them support when they arrive. In Illinois, they're being sent to Chicago. The state's Governor J.B. Pritzker issued a disaster proclamation and activated 75 National Guard troops to assist with the influx of migrants, and he isn't happy about it.
They won't tell us how many infants, or children, seniors, or families are on board. They won't tell us what route they take or when they will arrive. They won't provide any information that would actually help their fellow Americans welcome and care for these human beings.
New York City also in chaos. Mayor Eric Adams admitting that shelters are at a breaking point because of the surge. Shelters forcing 60 people to sleep on the streets without shelter last night, and nearly 1,000 people this month have been rejected from shelters. Adams saying the long-standing policy that requires the city shelter any homeless person needs to be re-examined. Quote, in this new and unforeseen reality, where we expect thousands more to arrive every week going forward, the city's system is nearing its breaking point. As a result, the city's prior practices, which never contemplated the busing of thousands of people into New York City, must be reassessed. Now look, I get it. They should not be sending these buses or planes filled with people unannounced as a political cudgel. But isn't it also true that big cities, including those so-called sanctuary cities, should share in the burden of dealing with a failed national immigration system? Joining me now, New York State Assemblywoman Catalina Cruz, who represents New York's 39th District. Thanks a lot for coming on the program. Appreciate it. Before we talk about the tactics of what's happening here, do you disagree with me that cities like New York ought to share in the burden of a failed immigration policy?
Well, I like to look at it differently. Rather than a burden, it's a responsibility. I think we as Americans need to recognize that a major reason why we are seeing this influx of migrants is because our country for decades has had a policy of putting our nose in other people's business, creating sometimes political nightmares, sometimes economic nightmares. I come from a country where that happened, from Colombia. And we now want to look the other way when a lot of these folks are coming to seek what is actually allowed by international law, which is asylum and seeking help.
Right, but asylum is a different issue than what you're talking about. And you're making a political argument about what you think the United States has done in the past, which is sort of irrelevant to the issue of asylum. Asylum would mean that they're specifically enduring, on a personal level, persecution, etc. And it does sound like, though, you agree that New York City ought to welcome a good number of these people who are at the border. So am I right in assessing that you're okay broadly with the idea of sending people here?
Well, I think I'm going to disagree with you in that that this is a political stance. I think
well, to say the U.S. has been sticking their nose in other people's business is a political statement.
We're still doing it. We're still doing it right now.
You're making another political statement, right? I mean, but
it's not political. It's fact.
Well, it's not. I mean, look, it's a fact that the U.S. is engaged in controversial policies. That's not the explanation for why we have an immigration problem.
Actually, it very much is. I am a product of that. I am a product of making sure that children who are hungry, who are fleeing drug wars, who are fleeing persecution, have an opportunity to live. We are the country that created a lot of what we're seeing now in those countries. We are the government that stuck our nose in those political minefields. And now when those folks are coming to seek our help, we want to turn the other way and say exactly what you're saying, which is it's a political issue. We shouldn't be looking at it. Actually, it's not.
It's not that we shouldn't be looking at it. It's we should admit that you should admit that what you're making are politicized political statements about what you believe is the United States being an awful place, right?
Oh, no, if it was, no, I'm going to disagree.
Sticking their nose
if it was
into
an
places,
awful place, I would have made it my home.
I don't know. It sounds like you're pretty upset about what the United States has been doing in places like where you're from.
No. Well, those are two different things. I can be upset. Hold on. I can be upset about what the country has done historically, while also saying this is a beautiful place to live. I've made it my home. It's given me an opportunity to become a citizen, a lawyer, and a legislator. And now I can recognize that we as a country, because we've had that history, have a responsibility to invest. And it's not just the state of New York or the city of New York. We as the federal government needs to be putting their hands in their pockets and saying, we are going to send resources to every state. Because I think in that part, you're right.
Absolutely.
In that part, you're right. It shouldn't just be one state. But to do it in the way that these states are doing it, to use people as political pawns, to just drop them off in the front of somebody's yard, whether it's the VP or anybody else, you don't just do that. You don't do that unless it's an election year, which is exactly what's happening now.
You get the final word. Thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.